Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
Packers taking on the Browns. Let's lead it off with that. What are your keys to victory for the Packers? I've got my five. Now, again, like every week when we do keys to victory and such, there could always be more than just five. But these were the five that really stood out to me when sat down and started to think about it. And number one, I think it's pretty darn easy. It's protecting Jordan Love. And again, I think we're probably going to say this every single week. It's protecting the quarterback. It's protecting Jordan Love. But in this instance, if there is no Zach Tom, and I know he still practiced again yesterday in a limited fashion, I still have questions whether he's going to be able to go or not. But it's protected Jordan Love, especially this week, if you don't have Zach Tom and you got Myles Garrett lining up on the other side. Jordan Love has been fantastic this year in a clean pocket. I mean, we've seen Jordan Love and really kind of throwing the ball down the field a little bit more. So protection is going to be key, especially going up against this style of defense. We don't want Love taking any unnecessary hits. We don't want him to be hit a lot in this game. I mean, you don't want any quarterback to go through that. But you have to protect Love. You have to give him that protection. Whether it is in the Kraft thing now kind of throws a little bit more in, kind of a question mark into this thing. But, leaving a tight end in line to help block, chipping, running backs, whether it's Jacobs or even Chris Brooks, staying back to help with protection. Maybe they put a tight end back there like a Sims or a Fitzpatrick, that a la fullback, H-back type of role. Whatever it is, you have to protect your quarterback, and it might come at the cost of not having an extra pass catcher out there just to make sure that Love is protected. Protecting Jordan Love, offensive line play, key to victory number one. Number two, I think with that, if you are going to have extra protection in where maybe you have to leave that tight end or maybe you have to leave a running back in, it just makes it more important to be creative on offense. I feel like Matt LaFleur in this game going up against a stingy defense where they are number one in stopping the run, number 3 in passing defense, number 1 overall in yards allowed. I think Matt LaFleur's got to be a little bit creative in this one, maybe opening up that playbook a little bit more. And especially with no Jayden Reed and possibly no Tucker Kraft in this game, being creative is going to be a little bit more important. Trying to manufacture or scheme up plays and formations to move that ball down the field and come away with points. It's going to be an interesting chess match, I think, between Matt LaFleur and Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator for the Cleveland Browns. But being creative on offense, I think, is going to be a key to help the Packers score enough points to win this ball game. And related to that is getting Matthew Golden involved in the game, and that's my third key to victory. Finding ways to get the rookie wide receiver a little bit more involved in this game, because I feel like he is a guy that can step into if you want to call it the Jayden Reed role. Jayden Reed is such a dynamic player that he could do multiple different things within his offense. I think too many people just pigeonhole him as being a slot receiver, but he does more than that. He could play on the outside. He could play in the slot. He could go across the middle. He could go deep. He can do some end arounds. He could do some jet sweeps. Matthew Golden can do those as well. Matthew Golden has the speed to be a big play receiver. And I know there's some fans already frustrated he hasn't been more involved in the first 2 weeks of his career. Here's an opportunity, and I think you have to get him more involved, whether it is deep balls, intermediate throws, end arounds, jet sweeps, just getting the ball in his hands and utilizing his athleticism and utilizing his speed. I think is going to be a key for the offense to have success going up against the Browns on Sunday. Number 4, you have to create turnovers. The Browns throw the ball more than anybody in the National Football League, and their offensive line allows more pressure than any offensive line in the league. If you're hearing that and you are a Packers fan, how do you not get goosebumps thinking about, getting chills? That offensive line they allow the most pressure. They throw the ball more. Oh, yeah, here we go. You thought the first 2 weeks of pressure was awesome to watch? It should get you even more pumped up about this matchup on Sunday. So creating turnovers, getting that pressure, but then creating turnovers off that pressure. I'm letting Micah Parsons hunt. I'm letting those guys pin the ears back and get after Joe Flacco, the statue back there. Go after him. This offense is susceptible to turning the ball over. So get after it. Get after him. Put the pressure on him. And if you're the secondary of Green Bay, come away with some picks. Come away with some turnovers. There should be opportunities in this game to do that. And it's all going to start up front. Everything just spells out. It spills out there that the Packers should be able to generate enough pressure, get after Joe Flacco, quarterback hits, get him under duress. Everything points to that. So go do it. Get it done. I like what Jeff Hafley had to say in his presser yesterday. He's like, this is our first road trip, our first time with our show on the road. I like how he said that, our show on the road, and we got to bring the juice. Dang right. Bring the juice on the road to the dog pound. Go be the hunters. And I got to imagine Micah Parsons is going to be unleashed a little bit more. But creating those turnovers. And then my 5th key is related to that as well. Capitalizing on opportunities. If you do get a turnover, or if you get into the red zone, you need to come away with points. Touchdowns more so than field goals, because this Browns defense can hold firm. We know. We went through it. 3rd best in the league at stopping the pass. Number 1 at stopping the run. They are a stingy defense. But if you get opportunities to put points on the board against this defense, you need to capitalize on those opportunities. If you get that pick, if you get into the red zone, if you get a pick or you get that turnover and you got a short field, score on that short field. If you get in the red zone, you better come away with points. And we'd all like to see touchdowns instead of always settling for field goals. You don't want to get into a field goal game. If you can jump out, I think, if Green Bay jumps out to an early lead in this game, 10-0, 13-0, whatever, early, and then you're forcing the Browns to have to throw even more, where they can't try to run the football, you're playing into the hands of exactly what Green Bay wants to do. You're playing right in those hands. If Green Bay jumps out to a 14-0 lead, I don't want to completely say it's done, it's over with, because it is sports, and we've seen crazier things in that, but it's playing right into the hands of what the defense wants to do, what the defense has been doing so well so far this year. So if you could jump out to that early lead, I think kind of an honorable mention key, not only to jumping out to an early lead, is going to be that first drive from Green Bay's offense. Looking at those, they always talk about the scripted plays, right? What is Matt LaFleur, Adam Stenavich, the Packers offense, what do those first plays look like? Are they going to be able to generate points on their first drive and put the Browns in a hole right away? I think that could be not to put a lot of stock into a first drive or anything, but I mean to put the Browns in a hole early. I mean, come on now, that would be a big boost. You look at the first game of the season against the Lions. Green Bay, what'd they do? Went down, scored a touchdown. Green Bay had a scoring chance in the first drive against Washington. They could have settled for a field goal. They went for it on fourth down. That was that short pass to Golden. But the defense came out, quick 3-and-out, second drive, touchdown. Scoring early, putting Cleveland in a hole early. Getting them out of maybe what they want to try to accomplish on offense. If you get them into obvious passing situations or they're going to get into a pass-heavy offense, it's going to feed into Green Bay's defense, and it's going to feed into those pass rushers and those unique pass schemes or pass rushing schemes that they want to run with Van Ness, with Parsons, with Rashawn Gary, all on the field at the same time. And I think, some of the key matchups in this game is obviously going to be whoever is trying to block Myles Garrett. If Myles Garrett's going to line up primarily on the right side, it's whoever is right tackle, whether it's going to be Morgan, Tom, Belton. If he's on the left side, it's going to be Rasheed Walker. Wherever Myles Garrett's at. We've seen Myles Garrett line up over the center too. So essentially, key matchup, Packers offensive line, Myles Garrett. Let's just make it simple, right? But I would say another key matchup is going to be Matt LaFleur versus Jim Schwartz. The chess match between those two. How does Matt LaFleur dial up plays, call up plays to get scoring opportunities on a very stingy defense? And on the flip side, how does Jim Schwartz dial up defensive and trying to confuse Jordan Love and trying to confuse Matt LaFleur? Matt LaFleur, when he gets a step ahead of a defensive coordinator in play calling, dude's awesome. He's fantastic. And if you give him that step, he's going to take it. And it's very hard to catch up to him. Other key matchups, kind of in this game too, I'm looking at, all right, your pass catchers are a little bit banged up for Green Bay. If Tucker doesn't play in this game, we know Jayden Reed's not playing in this game. Now you look at, okay, two of our top pass catchers are out of this thing. I still think they've got some decent depth. You still got Romeo Doubs over there. We mentioned Matthew Golden. Dontavian Wicks is coming off of a solid game. I think this is probably an opportunity here for Lucas Musgrave. But you look at the secondary of Cleveland. You still got a Denzel Ward back there. Greg Newsome, remember him coming on the draft a few years ago? A lot of Packers fans wanted Greg Newsome to go to Green Bay in that. But I'm looking at, okay, assuming maybe that Denzel Ward might be on Romeo a little bit more. It's the Wicks, it's the Golden, it's those receivers. Savion Williams, maybe getting more opportunities. Those receivers going up against the secondary of Cleveland. And then I would say another key matchup is going to be Green Bay did a better job of it in week 2 against Zach Ertz. But you got David Njoku, tight end for Cleveland. Whether that's Javon Bullard, whether that's another safety, whether that's another linebacker. But don't let him go out and just explode. And if I'm Stefanski and I'm looking at, all right, what did the Lions do to get Sam Laporta the ball where he had 6 catches for 79 yards? Even in the Washington game, who was Washington's leading receiver? It was Zach Ertz, 6 catches for 64 yards and a touchdown. So if I'm Stefanski, I'm like, okay, maybe David's our guy. He's the guy that we have to get going in the offense. And so far, David this year's got 7 catches for 77 yards. So key matchup to me is going to be maybe that is Javon Bullard going up against David Njoku or whoever it's going to be. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, or a linebacker. That's a key matchup too. Now, who are my players who gotta have a game? I got a few. Not just players, people. People who gotta have a game. That I believe have gotta have a game in this one. I'm changing it from players to people because I do want to include Matt LaFleur on this. I think he's gotta have a game with his game plan, calling the game, play calls, going up against Jim Schwartz's defense. I think Matt LaFleur's got to have a game. I think Jordan Love's got to have a game. Now, I'm not saying I want to see Jordan Love throw for 350 and 5 touchdowns. I mean, that would be flipping fantastic. But got to have a game in terms of moving the ball, taking care of the football, and making sure you're not taking any unnecessary hits back there too. But with that, offensive line, got to have a game. Got to have a game protecting Jordan Love, especially on the right side. It's going to be tough to run the football, but if there somehow can get some tough yards with Josh Jacobs to open up some of those holes, that'd be a big boost too. But no question about it, offensive line, got to have a game. I think Matthew Golden's got to have a game. I think he's got to be I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to operate under the assumption maybe that Tucker Kraft doesn't play on Sunday. We know Jaden Reed's not playing. Next man up. I feel like Matt and Romeo, assuming maybe Ward is going to be on him more times than not, but I'm going to go Matthew Golden just because of the versatility that he brings, the different things that you could do with him, using that speed and end arounds and jet sweeps and deep passes, short passes, intermediate across the middle. I want Matthew Golden to have a game. I think he's got to have a game. Defensively, I mean, okay, if Cleveland's offensive line is going to continue to protect up front or give up more pressures, I mean, you're looking at that front to have a game. You pick Parsons, Gary, Cooper, Van Ness, Wyatt, Walker. All those guys got to have a game. Make it tough. Make it miserable for Joe Flacco behind the line of scrimmage. Go out there and eat. Go out there and hunt. Get unleashed. If Jeff Hafley's going to unleash you and say, boys, pin your ears back and let's go, go do it. But I'd also put Xavier McKinney on this one. I'm not overreacting to his lack of interceptions like some fans are. And I know Hafley was asked about it as presser. I think McKinney spoiled us in his first year last year, beginning the season with an interception in how many games in a row. Kind of spoiled us, set the bar incredibly high. But I will say this. If Green Bay is able to generate pressure, that I think a lot of us assume that they're going to be able to against Cleveland, he may be a benefactor of that. If Flacco's going to be throwing the ball up or, trying to stretch it down the field in that, I want to see the ball hawk, Xavier McKinney, maybe come away with a pick or two. Patrolling the back end, being the center fielder at the back end. I want to see that. I want to see Xavier McKinney have a game. Because I want to see some turnovers in this one. So you could pick a lot of guys in the secondary. You could pick a Javon Bullard. Javon Bullard would be a good one, too. Javon Bullard's got to have a game, I think. Matching up against the tight ends. I'd throw him in that category if got to have a game. But if you want to throw in Evan Williams, I throw in one of the corners like Keyshawn or Valentine or Hobbs because of the picks, I got no problem with that. But I'll go with McKinney on this one, who's got to have a game. I want to see a pick. Bold predictions. All right, bold predictions for this game. I'm going to say McKinney. McKinney's going to, really bold predictions. Not just like, yeah, that's doable. McKinney comes away with 2. Let's do it. McKinney comes away with 2 picks in this game. And Matthew Golden gets over 100 yards. Over 100 yards and a touchdown. Those are my 2 bold predictions. I'll go with one on each side. McKinney gets 2 picks. Matthew Golden gets over 100 yards and a touchdown. That's what I'm going to roll with.